Hello everyone, welcome back to another video here. So, of course, today I have for y'all a ranking of the OG Dragon Ball Z movies. Now, keep in mind, in the background while I do this intro, y'all will probably see the same custom battle repeating as I kind of explain how I do things here. So, recently, I have to word things carefully. Okay, so Torchic and myself, we watched all of the DBZ movies. We did not watch the OG Dragon Ball movies or the Z specials either. Both of us have seen History of Trunks, but we don't count those as movies. So we have watched all the DBZ movies. For me, and both for her as well. Uh, the only one we had seen fully was Fusion Reborn. Prior to that, I had seen parts of Lord Slug and Zeroli. I think those were the two that I had partially seen. Um, so yeah, I seen bits and pieces of some of the movies, mostly due to clips and whatnot. Um, but the way I saw part of Lord Slug was for reasons that, a little bit more personal than I care to share right now. But so yeah, there's all of that. So we have seen all the Z movies. We rewatched the Super movies as well. So those being Broly and Superhero, and we did rewatch Battle of Gods and Resurrection F. She has only seen those as movies. She did not actually watch the anime retelling of it. By the way, we were planning this even before the announcement of Super returning this fall with Beerus and the Galactic Patrol arc coming either very late next year or in 2028. So just keep that in mind. This was already in the works, but I knew the Genkidama Matsuri was going to be this past. I knew it was going to happen. I knew there was going to be some announcements. So there's all of that. Now, as far as the custom battles, as far as how am I going to do this? Toei likes to copyright strike the fuck out of you if you use any of their footage. I cannot risk doing that. So instead, we're using Sparking Zero for a lot of the footage, and we use Sparking Zero for a lot of the footage and a lot of mods. Do keep in mind here, y'all will be seeing some forms that are not actually in the movies, aka Vegito has never made a movie appearance ever. Vegito is not in a single Dragon Ball Z or Dragon Ball Super movie. Vice versa, Gogeta has never been in an actual TV show. Actually, no, except for GT. GT actually it pops up. Never mind. So yeah, Vegito has never appeared in any of the Z movies. Of course, I changed it up a bit, so y'all might see that. Y'all might see a couple characters go higher than they originally go. You might see some forms, here and there. But again, I really wanted to do that. And for stages as well. Now, keep in mind, as far as footage goes, there will be some scuffness here and there because some of the mods are a little bit older. And with the way Sparking Zeroes ran currently, the game will have stints where it goes in slow motion. So to fix that later on, I had to reduce the FPS to about 40 to 35 in order for some maps not to be completely frozen. Also, yes, I do have the map for Garlic Jr.'s castle, but the problem with using some of the modded maps was that there was no floor. There was no binding blocks in the floor. So, characters would fall basically indefinitely, including yourself, if a particular move was pulled off. I almost had this issue with Z Broly, but I was able to recover it with the space stage. But Garlic Jr., it was just way too easy to have this trigger. So, yeah. That's just a couple of notes there. Now, some forms might not make an appearance, like for the Bojack movie. I forgot to make Gohan go Super Saiyan 2. That is my bad. But this video took 4 hours for me to record. For 4 to 5, I think it was closer to 4.5 hours, just to try to record it. So if that doesn't tell y'all anything, how much of a process this was, yeah. So that's gonna do it for this intro section. Again, these are ranked on what we like as well, and I will explain more of the rules as we get into our first movie. Now, in our number 17 spot, we have Return of Cooler. Now, Return of Cooler, at least in Torchic and I's opinion, is the worst. It is the worst Z movie. The worst Dragon Ball movie that we've seen. Now, keep in mind, there are some stinkers, but this thing was awful. So, for a little bit of context here, I'm going to give a little bit more of the plot details, and then Torchic will have her section more towards either the end of the video or end of each section. Because we did a little bit of a drinking game with some of these movies, but not all of them. Keep in mind, we didn't drink alcohol, or whatever. But there are a bunch of conditions. I'll let her get into that a little bit later on. Well, I'll probably put it in the middle. We did not do this for the Super or Z or the last two Z movies, Battle of Gods, Resurrection, F. We didn't do it for those because they're 2 hours long. Well, 1.5 to 2 hours long. We did keep in mind that these movies were 50 minutes. We did keep that in mind. Now, Return of Cooler. You're pretty much just thrown into the plot. Planet Namek is struggling, New Namek gets invaded by Cooler. Which Cooler, I guess, somehow survived being blown up by the sun, and some ridiculous supercomputer chip found its way to him, absorbed him, and turned him into Metal Cooler, basically. Then Getty Star landed on New Namek, and was started beating the crap out of people there. The movie just jumped straight into Goku getting the Namek, which is kind of a problem. Also, this movie does not look good, basically, at all. This movie looks really, really bad as a whole. Worse than some of the, a lot of the older movies. There was basically only one saving grace, and it was a cool scene where Cooler attacks Goku during instant transmission. I think that's what the move was that he was doing. So, that was pretty sick. However, also Vegeta just pops up randomly in these movies for, just so that he's there? Which is kind of a problem, especially in this movie. The movie's plot also wasn't that great either. Neither one of us were really a huge fan of how Cooler ended up getting defeated either, really. It was just not a good movie. Pacing was all over the place. You just jumped straight into things, which is kind of a problem. This movie also, I believe, comes right after Return of Cooler's Revenge. So, but yeah, all in all, we really did not like this movie. The only positive was that scene. So, yeah, that's kind of why it's number 17. At least some of the other movies are a little bit higher, have some semblance of saving grace. And by the way, for the early movies, we did keep in mind that not that many access to forms. However, you are going to see some of the earlier movies down here because a lot of the villains were defeated the same exact way. So, yeah. Also, in the background, you might hear some, as far as the drinking game goes, I can get into actually, you know what? I'll save that for the little intermission. I'll also have to make a spreadsheet for Torchic. So, yeah. I don't even remember how Cooler is oh yeah, now I remember how Cooler is defeated. Goku and Vegeta just power up. That is basically how Metal Cooler's defeated. I just remembered that. They kind of just power up and overload him, which is kind of a cool idea in concept to maybe, stun him, but it basically just detonates. It just kind of just destroys him. So, yeah. And on that note, though, that is spot number 17, Return of Cooler. See, I can't even fucking pronounce the name right. And of course, for number 16, we have Lord Slug's movie. Now, by the way, keep in mind, some of the footage in the background y'all are going to be seeing is probably going to be sped up, maybe chopped up a little bit, just so y'all can get the juice of your bits. But for Lord Slug movie, might be asking yourself, wow, this is really, really low. By the way, do keep in mind we do have we have a couple of movies that are surprisingly higher than what we thought. And when we get to some of these super slash tail end, like I'm gonna call Battle of Gods the Resurrection F Super movies from now on, because they're tied to Dragon Ball Super, not really tied to the actual Dragon Ball Z. Okay, so I'm just gonna call them super movies from now on, even though they technically are not. So all the super movies, honestly, y'all should rewatch them. Some of them are going to be lower, or a lot lower than what we liked them, a lot less the second time around, for some of the movies that we watched the second time. However, some of the movies were better than what we thought. So just keep that in mind going forward. Now, Lord Slug. This was the reason why okay, we have a little sneak peek at the drinking game. This movie single-handedly was the reason why we added abridged. Like, lines that were extremely out of place or moments that were extremely out of place. Reason being, because for some fucking reason, the Gohan whistling defeats the final boss. Why? Why? The whistling was so dumb. Was just so dumb. And yeah, it's set up at the beginning, but it's such a stupid, dumbass setup. It's such a stupid, dumbass fucking concept to kill a boss with. Lord Slug himself, I thought was pretty decent. A villain that was on the weaker side. But False Super Saiyan, great, right? Right? The introduction is cool, but False Super Saiyan kind of doesn't do shit. Kind of just doesn't do anything. But basically, kind of what happens in this movie, guys, I will give a little bit of a plot synopsis for these movies, at least from my recollection and understanding. But basically, Lord Slug comes down to Earth to essentially absorb all of the Earth's life energy, and other creatures on it, their life energy, so that it extends the life of everyone on the ship. But Lord Slug is more so caring about himself. But it also makes Lord Slug younger or whatever as well, and it causes the Earth to get cold, which I really thought the story was really good conceptually. And then, of course, Goku magically reappears after something happens to him with the ship or whatever. But Goku comes back, doesn't kind of beats Lord Slug's ass. But Lord Slug has giant form, which I thought was really, really cool. To see to see giant form again, I thought was really nice. And then, of course, packs of Goku. Goku goes False Super Saiyan. That doesn't work. And then Gohan fucking whistles. Then if I remember correctly, Lord Slug is defeated by the Spirit Bomb. Yeah, he's defeated by the Spirit Bomb. Which, oh my goodness, the Spirit Bomb, 4 or 5 fucking movies. Just straight Spirit Bomb, Spirit Bomb, Spirit Bomb, Spirit Bomb, Spirit Bomb. So, but yeah. Major negatives here, mainly being the whistle. The whistle is single-handedly the sole reason why I will refuse to watch this movie in the future. I would never watch these movies. Keep in mind, all the movies down low in this ranking. I will say, I will express a point in which I'd be like, okay, I would start watching these movies from this point. Might be more willing to watch these movies. For now, that's not the case with Lord Slug especially. So yeah, all in all, I didn't like this movie very much at all. So that, however, it's better than Cooler's Revenge mostly because the animation is a little bit better. Not even just a little bit; it's a lot better. Now, of course, number 15 is Bio Broly. Now, Bio Broly, we liked more than what we thought we were going to. But is it good? No. Mostly because, basically, when Broly is mentioned and when Bio Broly comes up, the movie takes a sharp downturn. And it's kind of just shit. Just being perfectly honest here, which is kind of ironic because Bio Broly looks like he's covered in shit. But also, the only Dragon Ball movie to have an animal death in it. It was like, oh, okay. Bio Broly has some nice moments, but the problem is none of those moments involve Broly. None of them. So, for a quick synopsis here, essentially, by the way, I'm going off of recollection. We wrote no notes during these movies. But basically, Android 18 is trying to get money from Mr. Satan, and after Hercule tries to continues to dodge 18, some other guys who made these Bio Warriors, they come up and, oh, by the way, I should mention here in the background gameplay, the Bioman being Cybermen, that was kind of a workaround, and the Bio Broly mod, at least that's out there, looks so bad, I didn't want to use it. But, and there was going to be a mod later on that doesn't look that good, but trust me, the Bio Broly mod just looks horrible. But essentially, back to what I was saying before, after Hercule kind of agrees to go with these guys and tells 18, hey, go pull up, I'm gonna pay you some extra. And then Trunks, Goten, and Krillin, I believe. No, Krillin doesn't pop up until later. But Goten and Trunks come along with 18. They pull up, beat the crap out of some of the Biomen, and then they were kind of reveal Broly. Bio Broly somehow tripped off or whatever, but it's not actually Broly. It's like some weird clone of him. And then, which I'm not even gonna fucking get into, but then Bio Broly strolls up, duke it out or whatever. 18's not really the main star of the show. Trunks is more the main star of the show than 18 is. Like, it's just from 18 to Trunks. Krillin shows up, puts in some work at some points, and come to find out, the liquid's weakness is water. Bio Broly is defeated by water. H2O. Hydrogen dioxide. Yeah, and then he turns to stone, basically. And they Kamehameha the water to splash it on him. I don't even know what to say about these fucking movies. Like, what the actual fuck was like? I had it higher. I like, Torchic and I, we were talking, and I was gonna have it higher than this, but the end, like when Broly shows up, it's just so bad. After that point in time, it's just ludicrous. Both of us kind of agree that Broly should not have been in this movie at all. Broly should not have been in this movie at all. It would have been, the movie would have been better for him. So yeah, all in all, the movie was relatively okay, but like, I would not want to watch this movie again. However, do keep in mind we did put these in tiers, but we also organized them. Bio Broly started the next tier up, but would I be willing to watch this movie? I'm gonna skip it. I would not skip. I would not be like absolutely not as far as like watching like the previous other two movies, but Marvel is still not a good movie. All right, but time to move on to spot number 14. And spot number 14, of course, went to Broly's Second Coming. Now, Torchic had a main problem with both Bio Broly and this movie, mainly because Broly doesn't say anything other than Kakarot. Now you might be like, but Dragon Ball Super Broly doesn't speak. He speaks quite a bit in the first chunk of the movie. He just doesn't really speak when the fight is actually starting to happen. And I think he speaks a little bit at the end, but in she was low-key starting to get a little tilted that all Broly was saying in the second movie was Kakarot, and that was just kind of it. But what's this movie? Before going into it, let's give a quick synopsis here. Essentially, Videl which by the way, Videl has that fit on. The Videl had that fit on in this movie. I really would love that to be a costume in Sparking Zero. Like, that fit is so cool. But Videl, Trunks, and Goten are searching for some Dragon Balls. They pull up to this village where they're worshipping this thing or whatever. I think it's hinted at that they're trying to sacrifice kids, like this kid, but they're not being super explicit about that. Why? I could only guess to why. That's probably not fucking allowed. Because Dark Souls 1 had a similar situation with the baby skeletons. Which is why they kind of never really appear again. But the thing is, at some point in time, and I don't quite remember because Broly crash landed, I believe he crash landed on Earth after the end of the first Broly movie, which kind of doesn't really make much sense. But they had to bring him back, such a success. But Broly wakes up from hearing Goten scream, or Goten crying or whatever, which, oh my god, the crying bit is so dumb, so fucking stupid. Oh my goodness gracious. Because Goten was just wailing and whining like a little bitch because he just wanted some food or whatever. Like, sit your ass in the pot. You can eat fucking later. But Broly wakes up, dukes it out with Videl, Goten, and Trunks. Then Gohan pulls up, fights Broly for a little while, and then they do a Brothers Kamehameha, and then Gohan sort of wishes that Goku was there, and Goku kind of goes there, and it helps out, but it's very ambiguous on how it happens. And the first question Torchic asked was, how the fuck did they wish without doing any sort of summoning? Which is a fair point, but like it's just such a weird, confusing movie. Again, in my opinion, a movie where Broly's inclusion kind of ruins the movie. Like, low-key, Broly's Second Coming would have been a way better movie if Broly was not the villain. Like, a lot of these movies suffer from just having either a really bad villain, or, as we'll get into a decent chunk of the way later on, having unnecessary characters in it that are completely irrelevant to the plot and just make the movie worse. But, yeah. It's a whole situation. It is a whole and a half situation. So, yeah. Going back to, you know, what I liked about this movie. The beginning sections of this movie were pretty interesting. It set up a pretty cool mystery. I thought this would have been a great OG Dragon Ball style story. I thought that would have been really fun and really good. But it's just, Broly just ruins this movie so badly. Oh, also, Trunks pisses on Broly, and Broly never gets in water. So he dies with piss on him. If you want to know that. Also, why did Trunks need to piss on Broly? Why was that necessary? It wasn't that funny. Like, also the pacing of the Broly fight is really not good. It is really not good. This movie is low-key a dumpster fire. And now you might be asking yourself, well, why is it higher than Bio Broly? It has cool moments. The Final Bros Kamehameha is super iconic. And of course the family Kamehameha, the father-son thing or whatever. It's a really cool moment. It's just the beginning sections are so strong. I would argue that they're stronger than Bio Broly. That's the only reason why Broly's Second Coming is up here. So yeah, that's going to do it for spot number 14. And now time to move on to spot number 13. Okay, so of course number 13 is going to be Dead Zone, aka the Garlic Jr. movie. Now, this was another movie why we put abridged for part of the game, the drinking game. But getting into Dead Zone here, a quick synopsis. Essentially, a long time ago, there was a demon named Garlic Jr., named Garlic, and then Kami at some point sealed Garlic into the Dead Zone, and Garlic Jr. was able to escape. If I remember correctly, Garlic Jr. was able to escape and ended up taking over a section of Earth, basically, and set up his own castle, little do thing or whatever. At some point, Gohan is kidnapped. Yeah, if I remember correctly, the soldiers beat the crap out of either Goku or Piccolo, one of the two, and then they kidnap Gohan, tell him that he has a lot of power, and then they kidnap Gohan. Some shenanigans ensue, like Gohan getting drunk from an apple, which is a little strange. Then Goku and Piccolo, well, Goku first pulls up, puts some belt to ass or whatever at first, and then Krillin shows up to get pissed on by Gohan. Yes, Gohan pisses on fucking Krillin. Of which, does Krillin ever remove the piss? No. Uh, but Krillin basically kind of just does a whole lot of fucking nothing. And Piccolo shows up at some point, helps out Goku or whatever. Garlic Jr. ends up doing his buff form. I will say a cool moment in this movie was Kami fighting Garlic for a little bit. It's just kind of unfortunate. By the way, that Garlic did something kind of smart and used the Dragon Balls to make himself immortal. But I wish that I would have liked to have seen Kami fight Garlic just a little bit more. But, which is why in the custom battle I have it taking place on Kami's Lookout. Because the Garlic map was just so awful to try to use. But Garlic is defeated because he opens up the dead zone trying to steal everyone else in. But Gohan screams. Yeah. Gohan screams Garlic Jr. into the dead zone. Have you noticed a common denominator here? So far, the two movies so far that Gohan has defeated himself, they're defeated very stupidly by Kid Gohan. First the whistling, now the screaming. Yeah. This movie is down here for a couple of reasons. First all being the pacing. The pacing's rough. The pacing is all over the place. For some periods of time, it slows down, but other times it goes lightning fast. This was the first Dragon Ball movie, so I did not hold that too much. Well, it's not the first Dragon Ball movie, period. It's like number 4 or 5. But no, because Path of Power, I believe, came out. It came out sometime. It was either before GT or after GT, something like that. This is the 4th movie that they made, and the pacing was this bad. Like, what the fuck? Also, Gohan, the whole pacing, there was just a lot to this movie that I didn't really care for. The reason why it's up here is because the overall plot is decent, and the Garlic arenas were really good. And for the time, the animation was pretty cool. It was pretty decent as well. And it wasn't as offensively bad as any of the previous movies. So, yeah. But that's why it is down here in number 13. Now, for number 12, we have Tree of Might. We are still not yet in movies that I would be willing to rewatch. This movie, I don't think I'd be willing to rewatch. Like, I would never go out of my way to rewatch this movie. Oh, but Tree of Might. Quick synopsis here, as per usual. Turles and his goons pull up. They beat the fuck out of the gang real quick. Turles plants this Tree of Might. I'm not really gonna discuss Icarus in any of these movies. I'm not gonna Icarus will get some mentions here and there, but he'll get more mentions when you know Tor talks about that game. But as a whole, this shit was ass. But Turles plants the seed. Tree of Might grows. Woo! Later on, Krillin, Gohan, Piccolo, and Goku pull up. I'm saying that because I don't remember if Krillin was actually there or not. I barely remember Krillin being in any of these movies because, like, he's just there to get owned. That's all he's in these movies for. Now, these movies, Loki got crazy. Because guess what happens? They beat the goons. Turles beats on Goku a little bit. Eats a fruit. then just gets stomped. And then the pacing just drops to the floor. Just drops to the floor. I will say there was a moment there where you're like, okay, I wonder how Goku's going to beat Turles. And the circumstances around how the Spirit Bomb is able to be propped up is weird, but based on from what I remember, he draws the energy from the tree itself. But would the tree just suck it back up? No, did he? And then he Spirit Bombs Turles. Turles has a villain, cool in concept, but does not appear for long enough in this movie. He doesn't really do anything, as goons do a little bit more of the work than he does. The tree itself looks really, really cool. I would love it to be an actual stage on in Sparking Zero with more quality and whatnot. But all in all, this movie is low-key still dog water. Now, the reason why it's above Garlic Jr., everybody's just pretty solid. The story is better paced until the end. And all in all, it wasn't necessarily as offensively bad as any of the other movies. This is kind of where we're starting to the biggest offense you can be is boring. And the Turles movie was extremely boring. Extremely boring. And somewhat bad at moments. So yeah, Turles movie we decided to put here at number 12. Yes, number 12. I don't know if I misspoke earlier. Sorry, these are a lot of movies to get through. But yeah, Turles is going to be at number 12. Now, number 11, y'all are going to be surprised, is Cooler's Revenge. Cooler's Revenge being number 11. Torture, we were not as big of a fan of this movie as at least, I don't know about her, but I was not as big of a fan of this movie as I thought I was going to be. This movie was one of the ones that were worse than what I thought. Some other movies that were like this, the only movie so far that was worse was Tree of Might was worse than what I thought it was going to be. And Broly's Second Coming was a little bit worse than what I thought it was going to be. But Cooler's Revenge, I had high hopes for, and this movie was just eh. We are into movies now that I would be willing to rewatch if somebody was watching it for the first time. This is the start of the movies that I'm willing to rewatch if somebody else is watching it for the first time. But Cooler's Revenge, I love the premise. Cooler's brother just being at a distance, looking at his brother blow up Vegeta, see a spaceship fly by. Frieza will, if that comes back to bite him, he'll pay for it. But then you also can't get mad when Frieza ends up dying because of you let something go, right? Like, that part of the plot doesn't make much sense. Also, one of the minions being French completely takes me out of the movie. Completely takes me, because like you're in a serious moment, then you'll be here. Alright, Goku. Like, how can you take that fucking seriously? I can't take that seriously. I just can't. Like, what? I'm sorry, but I've never, like, oh my goodness. But Cooler himself, his design is so cool. And his buffed up form is so cool and actually unique compared to Frieza, which was so cool. And I really, really like that. However, back to the plot, when Cooler pulls up, he just kind of one-shots Goku. Goku becomes a bit like Jesus and basically has all the animals around him. He's laying on a deer while Gohan and Icarus go out to get a Senzu bean or whatever. They come back and revive him. And then, of course, once that happens, Goku has a bird in his hand, and he heals the fucking bird? When the fuck was this displayed? Like, what the actual fuck is this shit? Like, I was so baffled. So baffled. Why is Goku Jesus? And then, you know, at one of the coolest moments in this movie, Goku does a Spirit Bomb, absorbs it, buffs it to buff his Super Saiyan, and then, you know, defeats Cooler. Which was such a cool moment, and then, of course, he blasts him into the sun, which was really, really cool. Now, you might just be asking yourself, well, Hot Sauce Man, how is this movie better than Turles, than the Tree of Might? And this movie's better because the overall plot is not boring. Like, the movie's not boring as a whole. It has a lot of goofiness to it that is quite funny at times. There's a decent chunk of abridged moments as well. So that's the main. Like, the movie's not boring. And Cooler is cooler than Turles. See what I did there? But also, Piccolo's in this movie as well, but it kind of doesn't do much in this movie. Besides kind of hold enemies off. But all in all, the movie's actually kind of decent. The reason why we didn't like it as much was because of the Goku Jesus. Of the Jesus Goku. It's so out of character. It feels like it's not Goku. It feels like it's not Goku. Like, it was just so jarring, so off-putting. Also, Thouser being French. Like, I knew he was French, but oh my goodness, I didn't realize how much it just kept taking me out of this movie. It was kind of a struggle to watch at times. But it didn't make me completely check out like Tree of Might did. So that's why, Cooler's Revenge is in this tier. Oh, well, sorry, is at rank 11. Now for number 10, we're in the top 10 now. Is the legendary Super Saiyan Broly, the first Z Broly movie. Now you might be asking yourselves, but Z Broly movie is good. Z Broly movie is good. This movie's not that good. It is better than Cooler's Revenge. The overall plot is better. Now, start with some plot. Goku and Chi-Chi are out doing some like school interview or whatever to get Gohan into school, while Krillin sings extremely horribly, which I had seen the abridged version of Z Broly. I had not seen the original, and I thought that was just an abridged thing. But it's not. It's not. Like, that's so crazy about the abridged version of some of these movies is that some of the shit is not abridged. And, oh my goodness. Yet, of course, I will say Cherry Blossom area was really, really good. As far as, like, it looked visually great. Whoever was the environment people, they did a great job with this movie. They do a great job with a lot of the movies. Except for some, as we'll get into here. But, essentially, Paragus pulls up, tells Vegeta, hey, yo, there's a legendary Super Saiyan out there. You got some peeps to rule over now. Let's go. And he goes to some random-ass planet far, far away, to a land far, far away. Princess Vegeta. But Trunks and the rest of the gang pull up as well. So does Master Roshi. We'll get into that in a second. They get there. Broly's there, doesn't really see Kakarot, so it's, kind of a whatever situation. We come to find out that they are enslaving other people. Whoop-de-doo. I mean, they're Saiyans. What do you expect? But we found out that Broly's being controlled by some scientific object or whatever. Some science object to kind of try to seal him or whatever. But at a certain point in time, Goku finds out, like King Kai tells Goku, hey, yo, Super Saiyan over here, and Goku, instant transmission's over there. Broly rages out, because remember that Goku cried next to him, and Broly goes ham, destroys everyone, while Vegeta's being just a constant little bitch, until, Vegeta finally mans up a little bit, gives Goku energy, Goku punches Broly into the asteroid, and then somehow they all escape. Oh yeah, they cram into a ship. Also, Paragus dies at some point. Now, let's start with the good things first about this movie. The overall plot was pretty good. It was interesting. It was interesting. I liked this movie from a plot perspective. Z Broly, very, very cool, very good. The way Paragus dies is so sick as well. It was like, Oh, wow, this is actually pretty cool. I prefer the way Paragus dies in Z Broly than in Super Broly. Um, is that basically the only thing that I prefer Z Broly for? No, I do prefer that. I do like that Z Broly talks a little bit more while being raged out in Z Broly. Because Super Broly kind of just screams a ton, but it makes sense for their respective movies. And then I do like a lot of the characters being there, and of course there are some aura moments. Now, the negatives of this movie. Number one, Vegeta. Vegeta is uncharacteristic in this movie. It just doesn't make sense how he's acting. It just doesn't. And what sucks here is I really wanted to like this movie, but Vegeta Loki kind of ruined it. Also, Master Roshi. He goes buff and like, oh shit, he's about to do something. But then he kind of just doesn't and it completely destroys the pacing of the fight. It destroys the pacing of the Z Broly fight. Um, Again, what did I tell y'all? There are a lot of movies where one character being involved in the movie kind of ruins it. For Z Broly, it is Master Roshi. And Vegeta being extremely out of character. But the way the movie kind of ends is not that bad. Movie as a whole is pretty decent. I would be willing to rewatch this movie if somebody was watching it for the first time. Um, Outside of that, would I want to watch it again? No, not really. So just keeping that in mind as we go forward. But again, overall, I do think it's better than Cooler's Revenge. But it's just still keep in mind I did have Z Broly and Cooler's Revenge in the same tier as Tree of Mine as well, considering that it was an earlier movie and they only had the Spirit Bomb to work with. So all these movies we did put in C tier. So they're a lot closer than but little things are what inches them out from each other. No diddy. Now, in our number 9 spot, we have BoJack Unbound. Now, are we in movies yet where I'd be willing to rewatch? Nope. Because I would watch this movie again if someone else was watching it for the first time. Now, remember what I said when I said characters being in the movie can ruin a movie? Yeah, this movie carries over the same theme with cough cough Vegeta, cough cough, because he doesn't do shit in the movie. Now, here's what I will say. Plot-wise, this movie's not that strong. Like, low-key, this movie's not that good from a plot perspective. It's pretty light on any actual semblance of plot. However, I love the design of BoJack and his crew. I like the unique little string power as well that some of the characters have. So that stuff was cool. Also, we have deaths. Deaths in this movie. But before I get into all that, synopsis real quick. A rich guy holds a tournament for his son. And Mr. Hercule is there for some fucking reason. But basically, so are a lot of the Z fighters. Piccolo dips because he thinks the tournament is stupid. So Trunks, Gohan, and Krillin end up going to the finals or whatever with Mr. Satan. And Hercule, he doesn't go into a separate pod right away. The other Z Warriors leave first. They end up in different arenas. They end up fighting some dudes. And something that I'll give this movie is there's a lot of deaths. Like, hole punching, like chests getting punched through holes, characters getting suffocated in sand. Like, that shit was pretty sick. You can tell these guys meant business. Then at some point, BoJack pulls up, dukes it out with a lot of the characters. Piccolo shows up at some point looking mean with, standing with his cape flowing or whatever. Vegeta shows up at some point as well to just be a bitch and not do anything. Don't worry, this will be a running theme as we get into several movies that Vegeta is in, and there's no reason for him to be in the movie. But that's besides the point or whatever. And then Gohan defeats BoJack by Goku giving him a pep talk. Like, okay. Now let's get into some positives here. First and foremost, the plot is pretty solid. The plot is pretty solid. And even though it is light, it's not so little that like there's not such little plot where you know there's nothing happening, but there also isn't a complete overload of plot. Now, besides the designs and stuff that I mentioned earlier, Gohan's finishing move was really cool. Really cool. It was absolutely fantastic. And Gohan finally used Super Saiyan 2 again. Also, interestingly enough, it didn't use a gimmick from the main timeline outside of going Super Saiyan 2. Like, Bojack doesn't regenerate at all. So I thought that was quite interesting that really stuff from the arc itself didn't really get reused here, which I thought was very interesting. And kind of unexpected in a way. So all in all, I thought this movie was pretty solid. I think it's just quote unquote kind of solid altogether. But again, Vegeta's inclusion feels just kind of shoehorned in. Trunks does have a lot of moments that are really good. But all in all, there's just not enough to this movie for me to really be like, you know what, I'm willing to watch this movie again and again. Now in our number 8 slot, we have Super Android 13. We have finally started a section of movies that I would actually be willing to rewatch again, even if somebody has not seen it for the first time. We are finally into movies now where I would be willing to rewatch. And Super Android 13, I really actually love the start of this movie. I love the start of this movie where the androids kind of pull up and they kind of meme mug and shit. And yes, this is a copy of the Android section or whatever. Yes, but not as much as most would think necessarily. But all in all, also this movie is pretty well animated. I got to be perfectly honest. It does rely quite a bit on the source material. Like it relies quite a bit on actual Dragon Ball Z. But can I fault it that much for it? No. Because the Android Saga was pretty cool. But it's just kind of... Sorry to explain this movie. We do get three Super Saiyans, Vegeta, Trunks, and Goku. They all put in a decent amount of work, which was quite nice. And the final Android 13's... and by the way, the reason why I'm kind of skipping over the synopsis here is because there's really not... there's just... The plot is basically Android Saga. That is the plot. The plot that Android 18, 16, and 17 go through is pretty much the same plot that this movie goes through. So I'm not really that willing to do a synopsis for the movie. Now, as far as Super Android 13 himself goes, his redneck accent wasn't. He didn't speak often enough, and it wasn't off-putting as Thouser and this whole French Goku, I will kill you. Like, I'm sorry, saying you're gonna kill Goku in a French accent is so non-threatening, Like, what the fuck? But Super Android 13, I thought it was a pretty good movie as a whole. So this is the first movie that I'd be more willing to rewatch here. And of course, here, this is where I'm going to. This is where the whole drinking game intermission is going to occur. Hello everyone, so this is editing me here. Well, it's always been editing me. But, I'm here to talk about the drinking game aspect with y'all. So, as far as the drinking game goes, I'm not going to have exact totals for y'all due to, we've lost the tally of it. However, I am going to explain the rules that we went by and each movie's more notable contribution. So, for Now, keep in mind, obviously, we didn't drink alcohol, so we drank some juice or whatever. I will say, if you follow these rules, you will be under the table. You will be under the table, depending on which movies you've watched. You will be under the table. Do keep in mind, we did not record it for the first movie because we didn't have the idea until the second movie. But we did actually have we also skipped the last of the Z movie. We skipped Battle of Gods, Resurrection of Superhero, and Broly. We skipped those because they are so much longer. That being said, surprisingly enough, we might have still tallied one of them or something like that, but it's a lot more spread out than what we were used to. So, on that note, let's go ahead and get into these movies. So first off, the rules were, one, any character aura farms. That was one. Another thing was, could be from Dragon Ball Z Abridged. These were usually lines or action that were either out of place or could not tell the difference. For example, for Lord Slug, Gohan whistling was extremely out of place. Also, another little example is, frick, in the Cooler's Revenge, Bowser being French was very out of place. And, of course, Goku being Jesus for a little bit was like something that could have been from Dragon Ball Z Abridged. The next one was from Screaming. Now, we did identify this as either it had to be a scream in pain, scream as a result of a transformation, or if you did use it for a move, it had to be a finale level for the move. Something else, did something main timeline did. Now, of course, this does not apply to the later movies. Honestly, some movies were able to avoid this, but a lot of movies did not avoid this. Gets knocked out of form. This does not happen until much later. Due to the first 3 or 4 movies, Goku doesn't really have a transformation. Then another evil laugh, and then finally Icarus. Icarus gets his own point every time he appears. Now, that being said, he has to appear in different settings, or you can't just rapid fire them because it's a cut back. So if Icarus is doing the same action, they're just cutting back to him. That did not count. You had to either be in a different location, or something had to progress in order for the point to count. Now, if you want to swap one of those out, you can do. I would suggest swapping them out when Icarus is no longer in the movies. Swap it out for character's signature move, or you can add that because you will lose a couple of these as the movies progress. For example, to be fair, we did understand it was a little bit of a trade-off because we would have Icarus very early on, and we would have. However, we would not have getting knocked out of form very early on. So those would trade off, but we didn't realize how much Icarus was in here. So if you want to either raise the stakes where you're at, or have something for later movies, character uses their signature move. So that's what we went with. Now, let's go into all of the movies' individual contributions. We'll go in order this time. So with Dead Zone, that one was abridged. That one had a lot of abridged points. The most it had was abridged. I am going a little bit off of memory here. World's Strongest, we know for a fact, had the most evil laughs out of any movie in the franchise. It had the most evil laughs and it wasn't even close. Now, Tree of Might, nothing notable there. Lord Slug had a lot of abridged moments. Same with Cooler's Revenge. Skipping some stuff here a little bit. We'll So with Return of Cooler, with both Return of Cooler and Cooler's Revenge, we got a lot of did something main timeline villain did, largely due to copying Frieza, and Cooler's Revenge copied Mecha Frieza. Return of Cooler copied a lot of Mecha Frieza, and Cooler obviously copied a lot of Frieza. I believe it had the most did something that mainline timeline villain did. However, Fusion Reborn was close because Janema copies a little bit of Boo. However, the rest of it just doesn't. Now, Super Android 13, I think this movie, no, it did not. This movie didn't actually have that many points compared to the rest of the roster. The Broly movie had the most getting knocked out of transformation, obviously. It actually did not have as many Evil Ass as World's Strongest, based on what I remember. It did have a decent amount of aura farms. BoJack Unbound had a decent amount of aura farms as well. Um, Broly's Second Coming had nothing notable. Same with Bio Broly. Fusion Reborn, we actually had a surprisingly low amount of points. We did have some getting knocked out of form, but Fusion Reborn did not rack up that many points. And Wrath of the Dragon, without spoiling too much, we did get a lot of Did Something Main Time Villain did from there because of Babidi and, the whole Majin shenanigans. The rest of the movies, again, we did not record, so yeah. So yeah, that was the drinking game. If y'all participate, let me know which movie is the worst for y'all. And on that note, though, I appreciate y'all. I'll let y'all get back to the rankings. Alright, and of course, number 7, we have Dragon Ball Super Hero. Now, no. Before y'all rage out in the comments, y'all gotta hear me out. I know most of y'all are probably like, wait, what the fuck? Before this movie, like a certain movie that I'm not going to quite name yet? Yes! Now, keep in mind, keep in mind for us here, this movie, Superhero, was one of the movies that was way higher, like, we had a way higher opinion of than we thought. This is not the only movie that this is the case for. But before I get into my proper thoughts about it, let's give it a little bit of a quick synopsis here. Now, what happens in this movie? Pan is training with Piccolo. Pan can't fly. Pan goes to school. Piccolo gets jumped by Gamma 1. Gamma 1 thinks Piccolo's dead. Piccolo kind of just pretends. Piccolo told, hey, yo, can you pick up my daughter real quick? Because, I can't do it, and Gohan's being a bum. Piccolo says, oh, word? He pulls up to Gohan's place, like, hey, yo, you gotta get your daughter. What the fuck is you doing? You have a kid, at least interact with her. There's like, hey, have you been training? And then throw something at Gohan. Gohan's like, basically kind of like, yeah, I still have been training a little bit. Or whatever. And then, Piccolo follows Gamma or whatever to I think this actually happened afterwards, whatever. I'm getting the order mixed up. He goes to Gohan first and then gets jumped by Gamma 1. He follows Gamma 1 to the Red Ribbon Army base where they have been, after hiring Dr. Hito, they have been secretly been making powerful androids or whatever, and then they plan to now the guy with the cigar, I don't remember what his name is. He's trying to just kill Goku for destroying the Red Ribbon Army. However, Dr. Hito just wants to make superheroes, basically. And that kind of be it. Now, Piccolo finds out there that they're going to kidnap Pan. So Piccolo, tries to go with the big dude, try to kidnap Pan. That doesn't work. So Piccolo has Pan agree to fake kidnapping her for some fucking reason. To fake kidnapping her. Now, after they've kidnapped her, they stroll up to Gohan. Gohan somehow doesn't know that it's Piccolo, which doesn't make any sense. Also, this movie has a constant gag where Gohan's vision is somehow fixed by Super Saiyan, which doesn't really make any fucking sense. What? And then Piccolo, first he ends up wishing for more power at some point. I don't remember when. So the dragon tells him, and I gave you a little bit of something extra. And then after, that whole shebang, because I accidentally skipped over that, they take Gohan back to Red Ribbon Army base, where Gohan fights Gamma 1, Piccolo fights Gamma 2, Gohan goes up to Ultimate, Piccolo goes up to Orange, and then one of the guys reveals Cell Max after shooting Dr. Hito, but Dr. Hito's immune to bullets, so That doesn't work. One of the guys dies, and then Cellmax pops up. Gamma sacrifices himself to barely do any damage, and then Orange Piccolo beefs himself up, gets himself destroyed, and then Gohan goes beast and kills Cellmax. End movie. Okay, that was a lot. Now, positive about this movie. Story is great. I do like the story for this movie. So it means it's very fun. I like the new characters for the most part, like Gamma 1 and Gamma 2. I felt something when Gamma 1 died, well, when he blew himself up, and I was like, damn, that's a shame. And, you know, the movie from a plot perspective is pretty solid. Now, the reason why it's as low as it is the movie kind of looks awful, generally speaking. Outside of a few moments here and there, this movie, at least to us, looked worse than what we thought when we first watched it. This is more especially apparent in the background details. The background details for a lot of the areas were so bare bones and bland that they just looked bad. They just looked bad. And, you know, we were like, well, you know, we kept trying to be like, you know, okay, we'll get to some good looking areas, and that kind of just didn't happen. In terms of strict looks wise, for the backgrounds enough, this movie would be in D tier, like down there with Garlic Jr. in terms of visual. We did not like the visuals of this movie at all, outside of, you know, a few forms here and there. Also, another problem, Beast Gohan just shows up. It just shows up for a brief period of time, does literally one move, like maybe does like a couple of moves, and then just dips. Now I might be like, but Fusion Reborn does the same thing. The fusion was built up. The fusion had some build up to it. It had some build up. Beast just didn't. It just fucking didn't. He just goes beast or whatever, and they really kind of copied the exact same moment from the Cell Saga, basically. Which is fine to reference it, but like, the hair gets even bigger. Gohan Super Saiyan 2 hair got a lot bigger and taller. Beast Gohan got a lot bigger and taller. Super Saiyan 2 Gohan shit talked a little bit. Beast Gohan shit talked a little bit. Red line for both transformations. Android 16 in Cell Saga, well, in the Cell Saga, gets crushed or whatever, and after telling Gohan some sappy shit, guess what? In Piccolo, getting the shit beat out of him, tells Gohan some sappy shit. Like, they're the same. Super Saiyan 2 Gohan and Beast Gohan are the same. I don't like the transformation. I don't. If the hair was shorter, I would like it a lot more. Also, Orange Piccolo, I would rather have him have been red. Or a dark green. He just doesn't look right not being green. I really wish he would have been a dark green. Especially maybe in reference to, like, Elder Kai's, like, like Guru and whatnot being darker green Namekians, and the Namekians from Universe 6, you know, the fusion, like them fusing with a bunch of Namekians, them being a darker green. I would have loved them to have been a darker green instead of orange. The orange just doesn't look good, in my personal opinion. Also, Cellmax as a villain, really bad. Just a really, really bad villain. Has some cool stuff to him, but he just looks awful. Perfect Cellmax, which y'all will see in the mod, looks a lot better. Just looks a lot better. Looks so sick and so cool and so clean. But yeah, it's just kind of ass. This movie is low-key ass. The only reason why I can watch it on repeat is because the story is actually enjoyable. Even though it doesn't make sense at certain times, the story is enjoyable. And visually, it's not awful enough to where I only want to watch it once again. Now, keep in mind, would I actively watch this movie over and over again? No. But I'd be more willing to watch it. Even if somebody just wants to watch it again, I'd be more willing to watch this movie than anything else. But that's going to do it for number 7. And of course, at number 6, we have Resurrection F. Now, I know y'all are going to be clowning in the comments below, but y'all misremembered this movie. Same way I'll misremember Superhero. Go rewatch Superhero after going through, and keep in mind we went through all the Z movies in order. So yeah, do keep in mind. Also, the problem with Superhero is it did come after Dragon Ball Super Broly. So that is a problem in and of itself, is that it came after Super Broly. So there's that. Now, Resurrection F, you might be like, okay, well this came right after Battle of Gods. We'll get to that movie in a second. But number 6 is, of course, Resurrection F. I would be more willing to rewatch this movie over Superhero. Now, but first, let's talk synopsis here. Resurrection F, basically, Sorbet, which is kind of funny. Sorbet, the Frieza knows that the Frieza force is declining. He goes to Earth because they haven't found new Namek yet to get the Dragon Balls, revive Frieza. They put him in a chamber to form himself again, to like heal him or whatever. So to regenerate his body, and then Frieza come, like he's like, okay, I gotta train. Goes to train or whatever. Goku and Vegeta do some training with Whis. Whis mentions that Beerus blows up planets sometimes, so Whis has to revert that. And then Frieza comes back to Earth with a whole ass army. So the Z fighters pull up. They try their best against the Frieza soldiers, and while Bulma's trying to contact Whis the entire time, Whis finally answers, and Beerus, Whis, Goku, and Vegeta pull up. Goku goes Saiyan Beyond God, and then goes blue. Frieza goes golden. They duke it out for a little bit. Then Frieza gets the upper hand. Then Vegeta pulls up, does his thing. Frieza blows up the planet. Whis rewinds time. And then Goku interrupts Vegeta and Kamehameha Frieza's killing him. So, yeah. That's a lot of plot there. We just went through. Don't know. Imagine me saying a lot of plot with air quotes. Now keep in mind, this movie's plot is solid. I do think it's solid. In my opinion, it is on par with Superhero, strictly because there are moments that I dislike and moments that I really, really like about the plot. Now, keep in mind, plot has more of an importance on the 2 hour, like the 1.5 hours to 2 hour, on like the bigger, lengthier movies. Because obviously for the Z movies, you do have to take into account that the movies don't have a lot of time to really have a plot, be worked in. So I thought the plot was really, really solid. How they went about things, I thought was pretty cool as well. Pilaf gang being involved, it's just what the fuck. What the fuck? Well, what the actual fuck? Then, Frieza coming back was pretty cool. His golden form, his golden transformation was really sick. Blue, I forgot, I actually really liked Super Saiyan Blue in this movie. I thought Super Saiyan Blue in this movie looked really, really good. Surprisingly good. I really, really liked it. Which I'm really excited for this movie to get remade. If it is the case where it's getting a remake like Battle of Gods is, I'm actually going to be excited for this. Because the problem is, the movie is good until Frieza versus Goku. And also, the Z Fighters get quite a bit of individual shine. Master Roshi actually puts in some work. Krillin, Jocko fights, Piccolo, even Gohan fights a little bit. I thought the fights were quite interesting as well, showing quite a bit of variety in terms of that individual area. Honestly, just some pretty fun stuff. But my biggest gripe with this movie, and if the movie did not fucking do this movie would be higher, and in my opinion, better than Battle of Gods, if it fucking didn't switch to CG at random points in the fight. And this is one of the reasons why, I do think this movie is slightly better than Superhero, is there are actual parts of the fight that do look good. There are parts of the fight that do look good. Meanwhile, with Superhero as a whole, I don't like the style. Superhero as a whole, I do not like the style. Meanwhile, with Resurrection F, I only don't like parts, small parts of it. And the biggest problem here, because I can tell you exactly what went fucking wrong, they would have one 2D character and one 3D character. and they would swap them mid combo mid combo basically. They would swap them out or whatever, and sometimes they would swap both out for 3D. Why the fuck do that? They should have just had, if you wanted to have CG sections, just have an entire section of the fight pure CG like they did with Super Broly. With Super Broly, keep in mind, they did not do this. There is CG in there. I will get into that when I get to Super Broly. But both characters are CG and its entire sections. Also, they made a lot of the environment CG, which in Resurrection F does still, you can tell when it's CG. You can tell. But it's just like, the biggest problem with the Golden Frieza and Goku fight or whatever, and even including Vegeta's fight, is it's just, you see great bursts of animation and art and shit, but then you see CG. You see CG. Just, I do think, out of the Z movies, Resurrection F needs it the most. Like, out of the two, between Battle of the Gods and Resurrection F needs the remake. I will say, from what I remember of the anime adaptation, it did actually add some stuff that I thought was that I thought was kind of necessary, and made the movie a little bit better. But obviously, I did not take that into consideration for this movie. Overall, both of us just liked Resurrection F more than Superhero. I think Torchic disagrees, actually. I think she preferred Superhero over Resurrection F. I preferred it the reverse way. But they are close. That's something I want to clarify here, is they are close. Do keep in mind, movies that are in the same tier are close to each other. So like I said with, Z Broly, we put Superhero, Resurrection F, Android 13, and BoJack all in B tier. I would say that Resurrection F and Superhero are really, really close to each other, because it might depend on the day or something like that. I don't think it's absolutely that close, but the Super Android 13 is right behind them, and then BoJack is right underneath them. So yeah, there is Resurrection F for y'all. Now we are in our top 5! Woo! Top 5 is going to be, rounding out the top 5 is going to be Battle of Gods. This movie was actually, okay. Let me just get into the plot real quick. Synopsis. Let's remember synopsis. So, Beerus wakes up after an extremely long nap, remembers some Super Saiyan God that he was supposed to that he wanted to locate, and journeys with Whis or whatever to try to find where the remaining Saiyans are. Pulls up to Goku. Goku goes all the way up to Super Saiyan 3. Gets basically one-shotted. Beerus pulls up to Bulma's birthday party. Parties it up a little bit there. Vegeta recognizes him or whatever. Becomes Beerus' little bitch. And then, shit hits the fan. Beerus slaps Bulma. Vegeta has a really good rage moment. And, dukes it up with Beerus a little bit. Goku comes back or whatever. They summon Shenron. Wish for information about Super Saiyan God. They do the ritual, which, by the way, I don't know how Shenron would know that, because we're not going to get into that. But, essentially, Super Saiyan God happens. Super Saiyan God and Goku, what the fuck am I saying? Super Saiyan God and Beerus, they duke it out a little bit. They really start pecking each other up. Beerus wins in the end and then decides not to destroy the Earth because of the food. Now, that is a very short synopsis, but a synopsis nonetheless. I will say, this is the only movie where Goku loses at the end. Which is interesting. And that is something to ponder upon. And this is the only movie where Goku loses at the end. He doesn't beat the final villain. Well, villain in air quotes. Now, this movie was worse than what we thought it was. This was worse than what we thought it was. It did edge out Resurrection F because we liked the story more. And the pacing was really good. The pacing was really solid for this movie. The animation was also pretty decent. However, oh my goodness, the CG in this movie is horrible. 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 Like, oh my goodness, it's so bad. So bad. I don't know if there's a word like Jesu Christ. So yeah, this movie was the CG was bad. This movie did have some good looking moments from there as well. The biggest problem with this movie from a visual perspective for me is a man called Tadayoshi Yamamoto. He did a lot of the End of Z stuff and did some GT artwork, but for some reason, I fucking hated him for Super. He was kicked off somewhere around either Goku Black or Tournament of Power. I think he was kicked off somewhere during the Goku Black arc. I think he got a minimized role sometime during the Goku Black arc, and then was just booted from the project by the time the Tournament of Power arc came around. And that's where, you had some of your legends like Naruto Shida, who did Ultra Instinct Goku. Then you also had Yuya Takahashi, who's my personal favorite. And then, of course, you had Shintani as well. That's when you had the three goats pop up. Which we'll get into those three more when we get into the Super Broly movie. When we get into the Broly movie. But yeah. Now, other positives here. Super Saiyan God is interesting from a lore perspective. It looks bad when he first transforms to it. I do not like that coloration, but the origin looks really good from it. Beerus as a whole looks great. Love his design. Also, Whis' design was really cool as well. Decay scene was really, really nice. That is where it kind of introduced the idea of baking Super Saiyan God into your base form, which in the manga doesn't happen until much later, if I remember correctly, but it does lead into the Saiyan Beyond God form in Resurrection F, being the Super Saiyan God Ki being baked into your base form. Because I wouldn't be surprised if that point in time they wanted to view, and they might still view this now, like Toriyama might have wanted to view, like have Super Saiyan God and like the whole God forms and Super Saiyan forms, them not being like Super Saiyan God coming after Super Saiyan 3, but it being as two completely separate routes. Right? But that kind of never happened. But all in all, movie was pretty decent. It's just the CGI from this movie looked bad. Like, looked really, really bad. Outside of the movie was pretty enjoyable. That's why it is in the top 5. Are we in movies that I'm willing to rewatch more than once? No. Even if somebody doesn't, want to or whatever. No, we're not quite there yet, but we are fast approaching. Speaking of fast approaching, here we are at number 4, being World's Strongest. We're finally hitting some of the remaining Z movies. World's Strongest. We actually really love this movie. And this would be a movie that both of us would be willing to watch a couple times. Like we would be willing to rewatch this movie on our own. Now, this movie is a really fun movie. I really enjoyed this movie. I think Torchic enjoys this movie a little bit more than I do, but I love this movie nonetheless. The story is fantastic. I like the story, especially for being 50 minutes. Keep in mind, we are keeping in mind that these Z movies are only 50 minutes. Sometimes they're actually less than that. But we're keeping in mind that they don't have as much time to work with. Dr. Wheelo's design is really, really sick. The biomechanical stuff going on is so cool. Even the old man, that was pretty nice. Bulma being involved was kind of interesting as well. But yeah, all in all, I really, really enjoyed this. Both of us really enjoyed this movie. And Piccolo being possessed was interesting. Despite it being a little clunky at times, it was still interesting nonetheless. I can't remember if that was this movie. Yeah, it was this movie. Master Roshi appearing because they thought he was the strongest warrior, which he was at one point, but not anymore. I thought that was kind of an interesting little tidbit, but we both really enjoyed this movie. There was some funny to it. There was like some pretty good combat and choreography as well. It just Dr. Wheelo was so cool, so different as well compared to everything else as well, because she has never seen OG Dragon Ball. But she had seen Z, Super, a little bit of GT as well, and World's Strongest is the second movie, so we had seen the Garlic Jr. movie. So it was just such a different concept than the rest of the movies. So all in all, it was pretty good. It's just such a good movie. I really do recommend watching it. And of course, at our number 3 spot, we have Wrath of the Dragon. Now, let me go ahead and get into some of the plot shenanigans before I really discuss this movie. But this movie does start off interesting as far as there's an old guy that's trying to, off himself, and then, Videl and Gohan come in, save him. They grab the music box, and over the course of the movie, they get to see it. They find the Dragon Balls. They get the music box unsealed, and then Tapion comes out and is upset. Tapion is a little bit of a whiny little baby, understandably so, but he's a little bit whiny and upset, especially through the earlier sections of the movie. Until, however, Trunks and him, they become some best buds or whatever. This is a pseudo-origin story for the Z-Sword, but not really. But yeah, at the end of the movie, Trunks is given the Z-Sword is given the sword by Tapion. I did use the wrong name there, but that's too far ahead. But we find out that with the music box, one of Hirudegarn's halves has been sealed. It's started to be revealed. Tapion is in possession of Hirudegarn's top half, while his little brother Minosha was Hirudegarn's bottom half. Which at the beginning of the movie we saw Minosha essentially get murked. However, I do apologize for saying a lot. I really do. I'm sorry. Take a drink every time I say But at some point over the course of the movie, Hirudegarn does end up becoming One Piece because Tapion fell asleep in a chamber, and Hirudegarn bursts the fuck out. But Tapion ends up trying to fight Hirudegarn. Doesn't really go that well. Same with Trunks. And then Goku pulls up and does Super Saiyan 3, does the Dragon Fist, and defeats Hirudegarn. Now, here's what I'm going to say about this movie. First and foremost, Goku should not be in this movie. I would have replaced Goku with Vegeta. It would have made more sense for Vegeta to be in this movie than it would have been for Goku to be in this movie. Goku does feel heavily shoehorned into this movie, which is why it is not number 1 or number 2. Also, Hirudegarn is not particularly the most interesting villain, but the old guy is. Again, this does have a lot of elements from the Buu saga in it, because that's the saga this movie kind of comes from. Now, positives. First off, the Ocarina whistle is so good. It's not like Gohan's whistle where it's also like annoying, but this whistle, it has a little bit of an eerie little note to it. I really did enjoy the little Ocarina tune. Also, I like Hirudegarn's design. Tapion's design is also pretty good. I like the backstory and everything. The movie overall is pretty well paced, in my opinion. So, especially compared to some of the other Z movies that we had seen up until this point, this was definitely one of the better paced ones. I really just wish if Goku was not in this movie at all, that I think this would probably be even better than Fusion Reborn. But yeah, there's a reason why it's not better than Fusion Reborn, or obviously Broly movie, because y'all know those are the two last. Y'all know those are the last 2 movies left. Y'all know there's the last 2 movies left. But anyways, though, that's going to do it for our number 3 movie. And on to the movie that is number 2. So, of course, in our number 2 spot, we have Fusion Reborn. Now, by the way, in the background gameplay, y'all going to be seeing probably one of the best, if not the best, fights that I've ever, constructed on Sparking Zero. I will keep in mind when that new DLC drops, y'all are getting some custom battles. Y'all are getting some really fun custom battles. I can't wait. Now, okay. let's talk about this movie though. First off, I love Fusion Reborn. Is it the best Dragon Ball movie? No, but is it up there? Absolutely. You cannot have a top three DBZ movie conversation without having Fusion Reborn in there. It is either one, two, or three for you. No if, ands, or buts. It is same with our number one movie. It has to be in the conversation for a top three, no matter what. Now, let's talk about the plot here. Let's talk about the plot here. Now, Fusion Reborn, it does copy a lot of elements from the Boo Saga, but it also deviates a decent some of the time as well. Now, keep in mind, in this movie, there is an A plot and a B plot. This movie is one of the few movies that can be canonized if you remove the B plot. The B plot is the Earth side of things. If you just have the A plot, this movie is entirely possible. And at least a decent amount of the games have, with the way they have worked this movie into the timeline, is by removing the B plot. Now, I'm going to discuss these two plots separately, so I'm going to go into the A plot first, and then I'm going to go into the B plot second. By the way, this is one of the few movies that even has an A plot slash B plot. The only other movie, to my knowledge, that has one is Dragon Ball Super Hero. As far as you have the A plot being the whole Cell Max, creating androids, taking Red Ribbon Army thing, and then you had the B plot being trying to get Gohan back into, training and whatnot, and trying to, get his daughter or whatever. But Fusion Reborn is kind of the only movie that really does a true A plot, B plot. But in the A plot, what we have is we have the Otherworld Tournament. I think that's what it's called. You have the Otherworld Tournament going on. Pikkon, Goku. They're duking it out and whatnot. And then, however, all of a sudden, one of the Oni's sons or whatever, he accidentally blows up a thing containing a lot of evil energy, which consumes him. He turns into Janemba and disrupts the order of the world. Basically, turns everything into jelly beans. Which, while, Pikkon and Goku are fighting, the other Kais are like, hey, yo, y'all need to take care of this shit now. So, Pikkon and Goku, they go out and check to see what goes on. King Yama tells him, hey, yo, Janemba's down there. So Pikkon stays up here, goes, hey, King Yama's like, he's up there. Then we see Janemba for the first time. I will say, Janemba is one of Torchic's favorites. She just loves round designs. Like, he's probably in her top three, I would say, but also up there is like Majin Buu, at least like the Fat Buu, and Hit is up there for her, so she does like Hit. At least as far as Dragon Ball Super characters, her favorite character is probably Hit. But in terms of her actual favorite character is Majin Buu, but Fat Janemba's up there. For me, Evil Janemba is peak, absolute peak. But obviously, when Goku lures Janemba down into the Jelly Bean, into Hell, basically. Not basically, it is Hell. It's always referred to as the Hell stage. He tells Pikkon to stay up there and try to figure out a way to get King Yama out. At some point over the course of the A-plot, Pikkon figures out that insulting the Jelly Bean causes it to break, so Pikkon works on that, while Goku dukes it out with Janemba. Fat Janemba is able to handle even like Super Saiyan up to Super Saiyan 3, and then Fat Janemba goes down to Super Janemba, which is also Evil Janemba. At that point, Super Janemba starts packing up Goku, knocks it down the base form. Vegeta pops up in tries to duke it out with Janemba, fails. They try going at it together, Goku and Vegeta, but they also fail. So at some point, they fuse. Bada bing, bada boom. After they fuse, they turn to Super Gogeta, and I believe the Dokkan moniker is the Angel Born in Hell, which is, wow, what a cool ass title. And then he just uses Soul Punisher on this. This movie just chock full of cool stuff. And then, of course, in the B plot, you have the dead rising up from the earth. That's where you do have Mustachioed Man. I'm not even sure if I can say the name, but Mustachioed Man pops up and uses Super Saiyan as an excuse to, the reason why he likes Aryans. But all in all, this is one of the best movies this is the best movie in Z. Really good animation, story is really serviceable. This is kind of one of the only Dragon Ball Z movies that I can continue to rewatch over and over again. That goes for like my top three Z movies. Of course, y'all know what our next movie's gonna be, but just the animation is just so good. The environmental art is just so good as well. This movie is just a really enjoyable watch. And also there is only one failed fusion, which is something Dragon Ball Super does not do, surprisingly, because for some reason, but it only fails once. So that is something that's quite nice about this movie. It's very fast paced. If not for the Earth shenanigans, it would be my favorite Dragon Ball Z movie. Well, it would be my favorite Dragon Ball movie of all time. But their Earth sections are the only thing that brings it down. Is it not enough though? Let's get on to our number one movie. And of course, our number one spot is Dragon Ball Super Broly. It is the best Dragon Ball movie in our opinion. So, yeah, it's the best. Now, going into a little bit of the plot shenanigans. So, Frieza pulls up to King Vegeta. Well, King Cold and Frieza pull up to planet Sadala. Not Sadala. Sadala's the old planet. Planet Vegeta. They pull up to King Vegeta. King Cold's like, hey, yo, Frieza, my kid's gonna be your new leader. Frieza does Frieza things. King Vegeta gets pulled aside and it's like, "Hey, what is this commoner doing with the royalty? Like my son." Well, Broly has a lot of attack battle power. He's strong. So King Vegeta sends Broly off to a desolate planet. Not King Paragus, but Paragus finds out. Paragus takes a crewmate with them. Not gonna say what happens with that crewmate. Goes to planet Vampa. They hang out there for a period of time. While later on down the line, Frieza blows up the planet. Blows up Planet Vegeta later. We see a little bit of Bardock. We see Gine. We see that Raditz, Vegeta, Nappa, and a couple other Saiyans were off-world and did not follow Frieza's orders, while Goku got sent to Earth. A lot of time passes. Frieza's looking for the Dragon Balls to increase his height by 5 centimeters, while Bulma has been using the Dragon Ball Wishes up to make herself look younger. But it all comes to a head when Chi Lai and Lemmo find Broly and Paragus, bringing him to Frieza. Frieza's like, hey, yo, Vegeta is here. Don't kill Goku, though. The fight ensues between Broly and Vegeta first, then it transfers from Broly to to Goku, and then they later fuse into Gogeta and to take down Broly once and for all. Now, first off, let's start with the positives. The animation overall is some of the best that we have seen in Dragon Ball as a whole. In my opinion, I actually like Fusion Reborn more than this movie in terms of strict animation. But the colors in this movie are absolutely phenomenal. And Dragon Ball Super Broly is phenomenal. Story is also really good. In terms of movie, this has one of the best soundtracks, one of the absolute peak. I hope the guy that did this soundtrack does come back and work on the Galactic Patrol arc. I really hope they bring him out. I'm sorry, Hans Zimmer, even though he did the 40-year anniversary thing or whatever. I want the guy that composed Broly music to come back. I do hope that they reuse some of Dragon Ball Super's music for the remakes or whatever. Or the reanimations or whatever. Now, outside of all that goodness, what are some of the negatives? One, I'm not a huge fan of Shintani's style. Because keep in mind, not everything is golden, though. Like Frieza. But one of my gripes with this movie, why I could see some people not liking this movie as much as, number one, you can tell when Shintani is working on it. Not Shintani, Shintani. I don't like his style for fights. I do prefer Naruto Shida and Takahashi. I really like Takahashi's style, even though sometimes his models are a little bit off, but they're overall really, really good. Naruto Shida, if you don't know who he is, he did the Gogeta versus a lot of the Gogeta versus Broly section, but he also did Ultra Instinct Goku versus Jiren. Meanwhile, Takahashi worked on Vegeta versus Broly and some of Goku versus Broly as well, but a little bit late. Like you can tell when it switches. That's one of my gripes as well. I will say the environmental stuff is really, really good as well. Overall, really, really solid movie. Brought Broly into canon. I hope Janemba is made canon at some point because look, Janemba's my favorite. Janemba's my Super Janemba is my favorite. But on that note, though, that's gonna do it for all of the Z movies ranked. Let me know what y'all think in the comments below. Let me know what your least favorite, especially if y'all gotten this far into the video. Let me know what is y'all's least favorite Dragon Ball Z movie. Well, Dragon Ball movie. Uh, for y'all know where we stand. I will say in terms of it was harder for us to figure out the order of the worst movies than it was to figure out the order of the best movies. It was tight between the top three though. Um, in terms of our favorites, like she prefers World's Strongest over Wrath of the Dragon. Uh, but like I forget what her exact order is, but she really loves World's Strongest. Like that's one of her favorite. That is one of her in her top three. For me, it's just not. I like Wrath of the Dragon just a little bit more. But we ended up coming to an agreement, and part of that compromise was where Resurrection F and Battle of Gods ended up. But also that middle section of movies like Superhero, Battle of Gods, Resurrection F, after you've rewatched them, it is really hard to put them in there. So yeah, in the comments below, let me know what is your least favorite Dragon Ball Z movie, including Super, your least favorite movie is, and let me know y'all's top three as well. Let me know y'all's top three as well. As on that note, though, I really do appreciate y'all for tuning in. Do expect some more Sparking Zero to come in the future once that update drops. I will be covering Marvel's Tokon Fighters, and of course, when the Diamond DLC comes out, if there is a raid boss, I will for sure be doing that raid. If there is not a raid, though, don't expect a video on Super Saiyan 4 Damagoku because I don't like that design. And so, on that note, though, thanks for tuning in, and I will catch y'all on the flip side.